We've got that Friday feeling, which means it's another What a Shout for you out there, brought to you by the Racing Post and our sponsors Bet365. Dave Orton back in the chair. Future Champions meeting at Newmarket. There's a whiff of jumpers in the air as well. All change as we approach the crescendo of the flat season. Let's go for it. Happy days. Thank you for joining us. Who've we got in the chair for you today? Which big guest have we got? We've absolutely pulled it out of the hat. Joining us from Ireland, Shane Foley, current leading jockey over there. Shane, great to have you with us.
Morning, guys.
In the car, my friend. Have you been living in the car this year?
No, I just have to ride and work on the Curragh, so I had to take an hour off to do this with you, so I'll be back out again at 9.
So let's talk about this year, Shane. It was last year, wasn't it? February 19, you took over from Colm O'Donoghue at Jesse Harrington's. It couldn't have gone much better for you last year, mate. And this year has been fantastic as well. You're one ahead at the moment of Colin Keane, I believe, in the Jockey Championship over there.
Yeah, we had a quite couple of weeks there and Colin pegged our lead back. But no, we struck with a treble in Navan the other day and we had one winner yesterday. So the all systems go from here to the end.
You've ridden some fantastic horses over the years. We should get this out of the way. We've got a lovely little graphic made up for you by the boys in the studio. Thanks to the Raceform Interactive guys for compiling these for us as well. Double classic winning jockey, Shane. Of course, let's go back to jet setting. Brado Keatley and, of course, Romanised as well for Ken Condon.
Yeah, look, they were two. Jet setting obviously was my first classic, my first Group 1. She was a special little filly to me. Obviously, she'll be cherished as well. And Romanised is still a very good horse. And anytime you win a classic, you get a massive kick out. But they were very influential in my career to get me going and to help them big jobs come up, bring them classic winners.
You've had Group 1 winners all over the place. And we'll be getting into some fantastic rides. Of course, you're coming over to Newmarket tomorrow. We'll be getting to that. Don't worry. Let's see who joins us back on the panel. Yes, he's here. Paul Kealy. How are we, Paul?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yes, very good. Nice to have a week off. Didn't have to get up early for once last week. But
no, indeed. Yeah. We're early again this morning, aren't we? But I don't know. It gives a bit of it's a nice vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm an early riser anyway, mate. It's just the dog that's suffering.
No walking, of course. Newmarket this weekend. Let's talk about the ground. So we're expecting soft. We thought it might dry out a little bit.
It might dry out. I mean, latest forecast is you could get 4 or 5 mil again Friday evening. It'll keep it wet. It'll be hard work. I don't think it'll be as deep as it was last week, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. I mean, we know how quickly it does dry, and you do get a couple of dry days, but it's going to be a test for sure.
It's a classy couple of cards.
It's a very good card. It's a very, very good card. I mean, if you love your 2-year-olds, I mean, they're very hard. I mean, the autumn stakes, I mean, that is a real puzzle. It's almost as hard as the says. There might not be that many runners, but I mean, there were so many with serious potential in the race that, we haven't seen enough of.
Phillies Mile on Friday, of course, which is when we were recording the show.
Mile, yeah. No, another really good race. So, there's class everywhere you go.
Class everywhere you go. Let's see where he is this week. Pat Cooney from our sponsors, Bet365, a familiar hotel room. Is that the exact same hotel room that you usually stay in at Newmarket, Pat?
Absolutely, yes. And at least they cleaned it since I left last time out, so good to be back here. But
like your dressing
just off
room.
Newmarket High Street.
Yeah, just like your dressing room with a star on it that says Cooney or something like that. Great to have you, Pat. You'll be giving us all the views and the news on the market moves as we go along. Right then, let's get into it and see what we've got coming up for you on today's show. Let's have a look at the racing clues then. Oh my goodness gracious me. What did you make of the ARC meeting? And indeed, there was a Group 1 Sun Chariot at Newmarket as well. We've seen what all the guys have taken out of that. We'll also be looking at the previews of the big races, Group 1 action wherever you look. Starting off with the Dewhurst. Can't wait for that. 14 runners. What a sterling performance that could well be in that race. And of course, coming up, we'll get you the big calls on all the big races. What will the big shout be for the guys on the panel this week? And of course, at the end of the show, the NAPS. If you've not yet signed up to our sponsors, Bet365, now's a great time. Why? Because we've got a referral code. Shout365. Just input that. £5 minimum deposit for up to 100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Right then, let's have a look at the hot topic this week. As I mentioned at the top of the show, more than a whiff of jumpers in the air at the moment. Chepstow comes back to the party. We've got the Munster National in Ireland as well. We'll be looking at that later on in the show. However, the news, Paul Kealy, this week. yesterday, in fact, on Thursday at the Cheltenham Festival. They finally done it to you, mate.
I mean, what are they playing at? I mean, this is going to be my big call. It was going to change it to a big whinge. They're getting rid of the Novice Handicap Chase at Cheltenham for a Mayor's Chase. Now, there's two things I've got no great thing against having a Mayor's Chase, other than it'll dilute the quality of other chases if there is a top class mare. But getting rid of the Novice Handicap Chase at a personal level is the best punting race. I think I backed the winner 7 times.
We were talking off air about this. King Harold, you mentioned, didn't you?
King Harold, 2005, Mark Bradstock. For me personally, it was the race that I really look forward to punting in. You find the plot early in the season. Got it large last year with Imperial Aura at 33s in January. But there are only 4 handicap chases at the meeting, and 2 of them at 3 miles, 1 of them's at 2 miles, and now we're losing the 2.5 mile race. Why?
Okay, let's. So you're on the floor about this.
Well, I'm on the floor about this. The other thing is, right, a mare's chase is going to add very little in spectacle. Is going to add very little in turnover, right? Because it's going to be a small field. You don't get that many. If it's going to be a big field, it'll be lots of no hopers, right? It will be won routinely by Willie Mullins. There are 2 mare's races. And between them, there's been 18 runnings of the 2 mares races, and Willie Mullins has won 14 of them. He's won 9 mares hurdles, and he's won all 5 novice mares hurdles. Right, you're going to get a short-priced, odds-on favourite as one of your 7 races. Now, if you want to add a race, fine, add a race. Why not make an 8-race card on the Friday? Have 35-minute breaks between races instead of 40. You start and finish at virtually the same time. You can get it in. Why do you have to kick one out? The 2.5 mile Novice Handicap Chase was just a great race to watch. And now
why not add a race? That's interesting, isn't
Why
it?
not add a race?
Yeah, because with this year, we've been having 9 race cards. Punters have been loving them.
We've had 9 and 10 race cards. We've had 9 and 10 race cards at Cheltenham.
Add the race.
If it's a time difference, we can now start races any time we like. You put 37 minutes instead of 40 between them. Start 10 minutes earlier. You're finishing roughly the same time again.
Yeah.
So
what would you have got rid of if you were on the panel? That obviously wouldn't have been the Novice Handicap.
Well, if I wasn't allowed to get rid of the other mares races, it would probably have been the Fred Winter or the Martin Pipe.
We've been having a lot of small single field triumphs, haven't we? For example, and
exactly. I haven't got anything. I haven't got too much against a single field triumph, because you get class horses and they got a better chance to shine through.
Yeah.
But why is there no handicap chase for 2.5 milers at the festival? Well, sorry, we've got the plate, but why is there no? Why don't we have a race for novices? It's a lot harder for novices going in against battle-hardened chasers. So why not have a novice handicap chase? I just think they're losing the wrong race, and I don't see why they should lose a race at all.
Okay, Shane, let's talk to you about this. How have you dealt with these extra races on the cards? 1 meeting rule, for example, we've had over here in Britain, and it's all got to do with COVID. Do you think they should tinker with it too much? Could we add to it? How are you feeling about that over there? Obviously a flat jockey looking at this.
Yeah, well, we've had 8 race cards for most of the year, and the only thing, it's been starting early in the day, so it's been fine. We haven't been too busy in the morning, so we've had to head off racing early, but it's worked well for us. But no, I think 8, 9, even 10 race cards wouldn't bother us at all, and I don't think anybody would mind it, and it seems to be working at the moment.
Okay, all right. So listen, Pat Cooney, let's just bring you in very, very quickly to get this out. Keel's mentioned a mare's race and the turnover there. I've seen a couple of reactions from bookmakers saying that might actually add to turnover. Do you give weight to that, or?
Well, it depends what turns up for the gig, really. I mean, if Lorena, with Paul Nicholls, suddenly whizzes through all her races and does a Covega and it's like 3-1 on, I don't think the turnover is going to be good. But I'm a little bit twixt and tween on this, really. I think if you want Cheltenham to be the championship meeting, it's only right that you should have championship races. So I get the wisdom behind it, but I'm with you already. Why can't you just have an extra race and start maybe 40 minutes earlier on the final day? I think I get the races that you could have lost, but I think with the Fred Winter, for example, as a seller, it's easier to sell a horse with Cheltenham aspirations, saying he's either a Triumph hurdle horse or a Fred Winter horse. So that would be easier to sell. And I get all that. But I think it's good to have a championship race in, but it could be one of these dreadfully uncompetitive races with little or no real interest with the betting public. So we'll see how we go. I wish the race well, because the sponsors are putting plenty of money into it. But I think it is a shame to lose that particular race off them all.
Interesting point. The powers that be, are they sneering at handicaps at the Cheltenham Festival? Right then, let's move on to the racing clues. Whew, what a weekend it was. I tell you what, from a spectacle point of view, it was sometimes hard to watch. Shane Foley, let's go to you. You rode over there on Sunday, of course. Now, Shane, let's talk about Alpine Star, first of all, in the Opera, before we go to the Arc itself. So close yet so far an Alpine Star, that grade 1. She's so nearly had it in the bag. What a lovable mare.
Yeah, she's been a model of consistency all year. It's just been unfortunate. She's had 4 runs and she's won a Group 1, obviously the Coronation, and she's been beat either a head or a neck in 3 more. And I think she done everything right the other day. She might have just travelled a bit too well. Typical French race, no pace and hack and sprint a bit. But no, she lost nothing in defeat. And I think the filly that beat her is probably a very good filly. Caruana, she beat me in Cork, Game Pepper, and I was a bit disappointed on the day that when she beat me, but look what she's turned out to be.
All these great fillies you just mentioned there. What's the plan with Alpine Star now, Shane?
I'd say Alpine could be finished for the year. She appreciates a bit of juice in the ground. America was talked about, but she had a very hard race against Palace Pier, and it took her a while to get over that. And obviously, she had a hard race again last week, so she's going to stay in training. So I'd say she could be finished for the year. And there's a good program here. The fillies can run in the Tattersall's Gold Cup now here in Ireland since last year, so that could be a race for and then on for the Pretty Polly.
Let's just stick with you, Shane. You mentioned there the stop-start French races, like the velodrome, we call it. You know, the peloton, then they sprint towards the end. What was the vibe in the jockey room at Longchamp after the Arc and Enable's defeat? The great mare.
Well, I actually rode in the Arc. I picked up an outside ride and I just sat out the back, and myself and Spencer were upsides, and I was saying to myself, I've never ridden in an Arc before, but I don't think we should be going this low.
Which was borne out. When you've got Persian King, who's a miler, of course, that was dictating the tempo, you must have known if you're out the back. Never mind being upside Jamie Spencer, by the way. You're always usually in trouble then, but you must have known that it was game over from the start, right?
Well, a couple of boys were after getting 8 days for interference, and I was on a 200-to-1 shot, so I didn't want to knock anybody down. The trainer was happy for me to do that as well, but no, I went faster around Ballinrobe in a mile 5 handicap, being honest. It was a bit of a farcical, really. Yeah,
and also, Shane, just before we come to Paul Kealy on this and pick the bones out the form of it, what was it like when you found out that Aidan O'Brien, Joseph and Donica were going to have to withdraw their horses from that day? Because, of course, they had Mythical run on the Saturday. And it must have been a very, very strange experience to be hearing that going on. What was the vibe coming out of Ballydoyle?
Yeah, well, you didn't hear much. It was just literally I woke up to a couple of messages, and obviously Fancy Blue had been favoured in Alpine Stars race. So when I seen that, I was quite happy. I thought it was a bigger chance for me to win, at the time. But no, it was actually probably a hit to the Arc, really. It took away from the race because pace, every angle. It could have been a whole different race if the Ballydoyle horses were there, and it was a pity, really.
Okay, let's come to kills on this. Some game, isn't it, where Coolmore withdraw all their horses, and yet they still managed to get the Arc winner because, of course, Sostas
absolutely.
was their stock now. He goes to a
standard.
I
mean, fair play to Coolmore. I mean, it's some call to do that, but I mean, they probably did the right thing. They had the horses tested. There was tiny trace amounts. They said they could have been gone. But if you run them a no, and then you risk, getting disqualified 3 months down the line, they did the right thing. It was, it can't be an easy thing to do, can it? You know what I mean? You spend all okay, money's not reasonable. You take all the effort, you take the horses over there. You've got 4 horses running in the Arc, and then there's no doubt whatsoever it spoiled the Arc as a spectacle. We don't know what the result would have been. Serpentine could have got a Derby style easy lead there. A much stronger style than Persian King going.
Probably would have ensured the pace for Enable.
Or stayed there himself. You don't know. He could have got it easy, but Mogul looked like he was developing into a bit of a star slowly but surely. You know what I mean? He's a big horse, and I mean, he might be a very good horse next year. And we lost them all. Sotsas, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. It was underwhelming. Enable's performance was underwhelming. No real excuse. Ground, I suppose.
Stradivarius.
Stradivarius, never at the races. I mean, Stradivarius needed a test at a mile and a half, and he didn't get a test.
So what do we do with the form? Pinch of salt?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with the form? I mean, the winner isn't coming back. The winner's been retired.
In swoop, the German Derby winner ran on second.
Yeah, he ran on second. He was okay. I mean, obviously, he's a stronger stayer than that as well. Might be okay.
Let's move on to stayers, shall we? Because perhaps the highlight of the meeting, certainly from a public point of view, was on the Saturday in the Cadran, the 2x4. Because Princess Zoe, probably the success story of the season in Ireland over there for Tony Mullins, goes and takes it out for Joe Sheridan. Absolutely super. But it was like watching the Ida to a certain extent.
It was funny, wasn't it? Because I was sitting with a mate of mine and I was saying, "Are these clowns just let this one go?" Like, you know what I mean? Because it was miles clear and it was lobbing turning into the straight.
I forget the horse's
can't remember the name.
He was a listed winner, but
but it was absolutely lobbing into the straight. But no, got there, picked him up. And obviously did better than the short price favourite, whose name I also can't remember. But,
the Wind.
What a story! Coming from mid-60s to winning the Cadran.
Let's move to Shane Foley on this, shall we? Because Shane, there is a debut for Tony Mullins. A sore point, Princess Zoe.
Yeah, I think that's the real story. How did I get beat on her off 63?
These things happen. These things do happen. It's unbelievable. But you can't have seriously, Shane, even though she had a decent reputation coming from Germany, first run obviously probably needed that a little bit, but you can't have honestly thought she'd be going on to do anything like this, can you?
No, I told Tony she could win a Cesarewitch maybe. The ground was good the day I rode her in Navan and she absolutely hated it. I was going to pull her up at one stage down the back and she just took her time to warm into it, and I hunted her away and I was kind to her, and in fairness, I think he knew that himself, that she just needed very soft ground, and she went out and she's improved no end for him, and fair play to them. They ran her twice in Galway and went back again, and obviously it was a big call to run again the other day, but no, she's a fantastic mare and she got a very, very good ride off Joey, and the second horse got a very good ride the other day. He nearly robbed it, but no, it was a good race to watch, and she's been a kind of a treasure story for the Irish public. She's captured the eye of everybody, and it's great when that comes off.
Can you possibly see her going over hurdles now? I mean, because as a broodmare perspective, Shane, she's worth some dough now, isn't she? So will this, albeit, the owners of Archibald and great hurdlers that we've seen over the years, will they go over hurdles?
It's hard to know. Tony is quite he's liable to do anything, and the owner, Paul, and even after she won her listed races, that kept saying Cheltenham. So realistically, she shouldn't, and she's such a valuable mare now. But I don't know. Maybe the French Ledger could be another option for her to mile 7 on heavy ground. But she got quite a hard race last week, so that's hard to know. But if she did pitch up in a mare's hurdle, wouldn't surprise me either.
Wasn't it great to hear Paddy Kehoe afterwards say, "Come on, Stradivarius, come back to the pre-Royal Oak and take us on. We can beat you." Pat Cooney, let's come to you. Wasn't it carnage on Saturday night into Sunday? I've never known markets like it. Favourites pulled out of all over the place.
Yeah, it was just chaotic, wasn't it? And I think, unfortunately, the whole meeting will just have to have an asterisk by its name, won't it? And I think with the you tend to forget, don't you? We always see Aidan O'Brien mob-handed in these Grade 1 races, Group 1 races. But they are there and they always set a true gallop, don't they? And that's something we didn't have, as you touched on. When Persian King is making the run in, then the die is cast, isn't it? But, I look at Enable, and I think it's so telling that the mad keen to go to Ascot next week. It reminds me, of the boxer who gets chinned by a freaky punch early on in the fight and says, "I want to come out and fight again next week." I think Connections have ruined the fact that they may just have got the tactics a bit wrong. At the time, I felt she was beaten too far out, but when you got Stradivarius lobbing alongside you, going no kind of pace at all, I think maybe they'd like to review the tactics. And if the race was run on Sunday, who knows, Enable would breeze on past and maybe make the run in. So I think it's very, very telling. If she rocks up at Ascot next week, I think you'll probably see the real Enable. I think the public will really latch onto her. And I would expect her to win because they did seem mad keen to get back in the ring and have another go at the fight.
Yeah, Longchamp's loss might well be Ascot's gain in a couple of weeks. And Abel, she's going to be back out. Let's get into the action then this weekend. 255 just happens to be the Dewhurst Stakes. I think what we can call pretty much, certainly here in England, the premier 2-year-old colts race of the season. Just the 14 runners turning up. Before we get the panel's view on this, let's go to Pat Cooney. What's the market saying?
Well, the 2 unbeaten juveniles head the market. Chinned it 2 from 2 for Richard Hannon. He's just about favourite at the moment. And Joseph's Thunder Moon is second favourite, also unbeaten. Thunder Moon, of course, the only Group 1 winner in the race, but Wembley was not too far behind him of Aidan O'Brien's last time they met. So the two-year-olds dominate the market. I think Chindit's just about favourite at the moment. Richard Hannon and all the team are saying he did an amazing piece of work. Well, they had some pretty talented horses go up their gallops, and I think they're all pretty high on him. But it's a contrast in personalities, really, isn't it? Richard Hannon's team are normally quite bubbly, quite evasive about everything. Joseph's probably a bit more reserved. So the two unbeaten horses, as I say, head the market. There's some talent way down below the pack, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the front two got beat here. I think there's some decent horses at fancy prices that are probably being overlooked in the betting as we speak. But whatever wins this is going to be Guinea's favourite come Saturday evening.
Well, one jockey in particular is hoping to take this out. We happen to have him on the show. Cadillac, then, Shane Foley. Tell us a little bit of background about this chap. And do you really think you can take this out?
Yeah, he was very impressive first day, lads, in Leopardstown, and my only fear is he got bogged down a bit in the Curragh on heavy ground. Now I think he has improved a good bit since then. He's got a good bit stronger, and just hoping he can handle the conditions a bit better. Now, we had a little fear of not running maybe if it was going to be really bad, but they said it's just soft. If it's just soft, he'll be okay. But I think he's a very smart horse, guys. He showed that in his previous runs, and I think he's a lively outsider.
Yeah, I think he's more than a lively outsider. I like the horse. Now, I'm not, obviously Shane's ridden the horse and you know the feel, but I mean, my theory with him second time out when he got beat is that, any horse wins, first time out in a maiden by 9 lengths, they don't actually learn very much. And that was the first time he was asked to race. And he stuck his head down and he got very close.
You like him, don't you?
I do like him. Yeah, I also think he's another horse. I don't think that he went that quickly. That second race, it was over 7, and I think he's a horse that he just takes a while to hit real top gear. You get some horses that it's like push button acceleration. Some that just take a little bit longer to hit top gear, and it just didn't pan out right for him. And of course, he was still part of learning. He looked much more the real deal again next time at Leopardstown when beating Van Gogh, who's going to be one of the favs for the Autumn Stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you get, I think what he wants is especially at 7 furlongs, I think he wants a decent pace to aim at.
Well, let's go back to Shane with this because he's coming back from a mile, Shane. So that's the softer ground will help him on that front, right?
Yeah, exactly. Look, he got the mile really well in Leopardstown and he jumped and travelled. I suppose Newmark is going to be a different test for him down that hill. So if I can get him to travel and get him down that hill, definitely come back up.
We've had some superb shows this year. We had David Revers, who you'll remember, on the eve of the Derby Qatar Bloodstock Supremo, and Pat Cooney asked him what had been the most impressive 2-year-old he's seen so far, and he said, I wish I had the keys to the Cadillac. That was one that got away for David Revers. Of course, there are some... Could we see the winner of the Commonwealth Cup in this, the winner of the Guineas? I mean, there's 14 runners.
Yeah, I mean, it's not possible. As Pat said, whoever wins is going to be, fav or nearly fav for the Guineas, unless something silly happens and you get an outsider that you can't really make head nor tail of the form. But you've got 14 runners. You should get a strong pace. You should get a true run race.
Yeah.
And we've got just about every top line of form we've got there. We've got we've got the 2 unbeaten horses, Chindit, Thunder Moon, who did look very good. But so has Chindit, and obviously like you said, Hannon's saying what a great piece of work he did. They've had some milers down the years.
Yeah.
The
fact their second string is such a big prize.
You've got first and second in the Mill Reef as well.
Etonian, of course, is
and Hannon's got another unbeaten horse, Etonian. But you've got like you said, you've got the first and second in the Mill Reef. Alcu Mate was fine.
Been supplemented for Marcus Dragonic,
yeah. So it's an amazingly strong heat.
What wins it?
I give Cadillac a chance. I liked it earlier in the week. I just thought, based on the overall strength of his form, he was too big in the market compared to the front two. I think Racing Post Ratings only has him a couple of pounds behind. One of the top 3 or 4 in the race. And like Shane said, I think he will finish the race. He will finish the race really strongly.
So is this going to be Paul Kealy's Saturday Sizzlers? It's in there, is it?
It may well be. There's I fancy so many horses tomorrow. I've got a word count to keep down, and I've got profit levels to. Let's just say they need to go in the opposite direction to where they had been going over the last couple of months. So, but he's definitely one that I'll be thinking of.
Okay, I like Thunder Moon. Let's get this out of the way. And Shane, I want to come to you on this because that run at the Curragh, where Lucky Vega, of course, and Thunder Moon and the Phoenix were knocked in the National Stakes, were knocked out all over the place. Did it feel like it was riding like a really good race? Lucky Vega, Shane, he came out afterwards, just got chinned in the middle park. Thunder Moon, real deal?
Yeah, I think so. Because he got stopped as well. Obviously, Declan was switching out, and I was trying to go into the gap, and I got tightened from my outside. Then unlucky Vega, I was probably the unlucky one. I think I'd have given him a race, mind you, if I had to get a run. But to pick up the way he did in the manner of form he did was good. That was the impressive bit I liked about him. And his maiden form was obviously the way he won his maiden was good. Again, it's going to be a totally different test for Gary. He's going to be really tested. I think it's a very, very strong race. I think it's the best 2-year-old race of the year, and normally is. And I think whatever wins it will be favoured for the Guineas next year.
Yeah, rightly so. It took a little bit of time to warm up, didn't it, this 2-year-old colt division? But now we're really being spoilt. What do you like in the Dewhurst? Let us know. Get your comments below. Right, let's go to the Knavesmire then. 2 sterling days we've got coming up there for you. And the 310 is the Sprint Trophy. Woo! Who do you like in this? It's a case of who's going to be coming out on the top of their A game, I suppose. Before we go to the Pat for the market and Shane's view, Paul Kealy, have you got the winner?
Yeah, well, I know Pat's going to tell us it's about 8 or 9 to 1 the field, which tells you how hard it is. Yeah, but I mean, it's a race that Kevin Ryan has farmed in recent years, and I just think his Bielsa is coming back to form. Now, he looked a really good horse last year. He absolutely hacked up on every ground at Doncaster. And won so easily to such an extent that, you know, he was 5-1 favourite for the Wokingham first time out this season off a £6 higher mark, off an £8 higher mark, I think it was. And he's dropped down. He's now £4 higher than he was when he hacked up there. I mean, you know, if he'd run the next week off a £4 higher mark, it'd have been 2s on and a 16-runner handicap. But now he's 12-1. What's gone wrong?
Yeah,
he hasn't run very well. He's had a wind operation. He's had 2 starts since that wind operation. And he showed the most he has shown since then. When 9th in the Gamble Cup it sounds like a well beaten effort, but it was only 3 lengths, and he raced pretty much on his own on the stand side, well away from all the main action. I still thought he might have won at one point, and the ground is really deep. The going stick is as low as it has been at York for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I just think everything is in his favour, and he's 12-1. And if I'm having a bet, that's it.
Yeah, you mentioned the Ryan Yard. They are confident of taking this out again, I think. And they've got 3 in the race. They've got Hey Jonesy, of course, who took the Wokingham.
Yeah.
And they've got Magical Spirit. Was it the Bronze Cup he won?
Yeah.
And he looks like he might go off favourite, Pat Cooney. Before we go back to Bielsa, how exactly is the market shaping up at this stage?
Well, it's 8 the field really at the moment, fellas, and you just pick your poison. I think what is refreshing, you know, normally we get these wide open sprint handicaps, and it's the same old faces heading up the market. We've got some unfamiliar names, I think, this time around. We've got Came From the Dark, who's favourite, Ralston Sky. You're thinking, oh, I've never actually heard of them. Are they any good? Well, they're the next generations that we're going to see these run once a week, every week. So 8 the field, Tranchi's in there, a horse in a bit of form as well. So unfamiliar names, really. I suspect I might be joining the follow over a cliff club here with Bielsa as well. I thought it ran a race full of credit in the Gamble Cup. Rotten draw, race on its own, only beaten 3 lengths. I suspect he's going to spend his whole career in my notebook, and maybe I never ever back him when he wins. But I could see the public latching on to Bielsa again. He's got an awful lot going for him, and I actually think he should just about be favourite really after the Gamble Cup run. But great to have some unfamiliar names head in the market anyway.
No, mate, you're right. Before we go to Shane, it's Bielsa for me all the way. You needed to be low. We were talking about this just before we came on the show. I think 6 of the last 7 have been far side. Remember that? It's just weird how it changes at York, isn't it? We said that York soft ground is like Fostlass jumps ground, isn't it? Unknown territory.
Yeah, it is. I mean, year in, year out, you know, sometimes at York it's on the stand side, sometimes at the far side. It just happens to be that this meeting over the last few years it's been on the far side. Doesn't mean it's going to be again. Like, you know what I mean? But you don't know. I mean, you know, we could see racing on Friday. Everybody comes over to the stand side, and that's the only place they want to be, or they'll ignore it. And we don't know what's going to happen.
So you've got to take a flyer, try and map the pace. Magical Spirit right next door to Bielsa.
Yeah, I mean, Bielsa can do his own thing anyway. Like, you know, so it doesn't worry me. He's a natural sort of prominent racer anyway, isn't he? He doesn't have to be buried in the pack or anything like that.
A lot of love for Bielsa, but there's a big field. Shane Foley, you've had a look at this race.
Yeah, had a quick glimpse down to it. Obviously, a very competitive handicap, but there's an Irish one there, belonged to Ado McGuinness, Laugh a Minute. Ado's having a fantastic season and does well with these type of horses. And he was a little bit unlucky in the Bowl Lad finishing 4th, and that was a good competitive sprint here, Champions Weekend. He could be a little sneaky one at an outsider, but he's not a bad horse, and I know I thought there was a premier in him somewhere along the line, so he could be one.
Interesting, he comes over, isn't it? So, 3:10 at York. It's the Sprint Trophy, the Cavalry. It's a-coming. Time for the big calls then. Let's get something off our chest. Paul Kealy, you've already had a right good go about that.
Yeah, I've had a right whinge, but I mean, come on, there's still time for them to change their mind. Why not just have 8 races on the final day? Keep the best punting race there is, for me anyway, at the Cheltenham Festival. I mean, why
8
not?
races, absolutely. I think I agree with that. Pat Cooney, you've got a little gripe about Cheltenham as well.
Yeah, I just think, well, the season pretty much gets under full swing, doesn't it, this weekend? Good card at Chepstow, and lots of the fellas in the office are more jump fans than flat. I'm more of a flat fan myself. I just find it quite irritating when a horse whizzes up in a novice chase or a novice hurdle, and straight away it's, is he going to Cheltenham? Is he going to the festival? And there's so many races you can win between now and then, and I just find it, look, let's just run the race, come out and win next time out. And there used to be a fashion, didn't there, about 6 or 7 years ago, where a horse would win early on in the year and they go, that's it, you won't see him now till the festival. And they'd give up all these good prizes and good prize money to aim at. And then the ground would be wrong for them on the day. I just think it's a good old season. There's plenty of money to be won throughout the year. Let's not just be too Cheltenham fixated. It's a cracking 4 days. We get that. Hopefully there'll be an extra race for us all to enjoy. But I just find it, just let them win their races and enjoy them as the season progresses.
As the season progresses, I believe you've got a question for Shane about the Irish Jockey Championship as well, how long it goes up for, and I'll let you take that away, Pat.
Yeah, I just think, Shane, do you feel the momentum is now with you after maybe a sticky month the previous month? And just going forward, do you tend to think that Jessica Harrington's horses end the season better than Jer Lyons? Because that's going to be pretty crucial to how the season unravels.
Yeah, we had a bit of a quiet time with Jessie's, but over the years, you look at her stats, she does things for whatever reason, and then she comes good again, and hopefully, look, the horses have been running well without winning, and we've got a lot of seconds, but I think we've plenty of 2-year-olds still to run, and I think we have a good bit of ammunition still left. Without saying you're quietly confident, because Colin obviously is a phenomenal rider and he does very well for outside trainers as well. But no, I think we have plenty of firepower left, and I think Jessie is going to throw everything at it for me as well as everything else, which is always a help.
That's a great narrative, isn't it, to the end of the flat championship then in Ireland. And you've got a little bit of something to get off your chest, Shane, about you might not be there for the final weekend.
Yeah, well, obviously with the whole COVID thing, our season's been pushed on and a bit longer, and usually the Breeders' Cup is the week after the end of our flat season, but unfortunately this year it's fallen on the last day, so I might miss the Friday and Saturday and maybe get back to the Sunday, so it could be a long couple of days if I'm one clear heading to America. I'll be watching racing anxiously.
Let's talk about America quickly then. KM Pepper, we mentioned at the top of the show, really coming good finally, isn't she? Mile 2. She looks tailor-made for that Breeders' Cup Fillies Mares and Turf, didn't she?
Yeah, look, that's been the plan since she won the last time, and she was very good Champions Weekend. We had been kind of holding on to her over a mile and a half but I think her main attribute is letting her jump and travel, and we done that at the Curragh, and we seen how impressive she was. But no, look, she got freshened up since then, and I actually rode her yesterday morning. She's in good shape, and she'll probably have a spin away to the Curragh, and she doesn't take much. She's a grand filly.
I mean, she could be perfect for that. And not a lot of people know this. It's at Keeneland again this year. It's actually 9.5 furlongs. Everyone thinks it's mile 3. It's shorter there now. KM Pepper, she's nailed on for that, hasn't she?
I don't know anything about the American form, because you know me and American racing, don't you? But I mean, she's a lovely filly, and we tend to do really well in the turf races. So
have you been with her this season? She was one of those that was knocking on the door, wasn't she?
I was, and then I wasn't, and then I was, and then I wasn't, all at the wrong times, if you know what I mean.
But Shane Foley's on the show, and you're going to say you were, absolutely. Now, let me finish off then with the big calls. Melbourne Cup, you'll have seen if you're watching your premium content or the papers this week. Tom Segal comes and knocks a couple out the park. Tiger Moth, he's gone for Aidan O'Brien. Looks like a real good candidate. He's got in single figures. Warning as well. Watch back your replays. But there is a horse in there that I like for the Melbourne Cup. That's on the 3rd of November. Cannot wait for this. The race that stops a nation. And it's called Fincher. It's Chris Waller. It's Khalid Abdullah. Look no more. 16-1. That'll win the Melbourne Cup. 3:35 then, just a small matter of the Cesarewitch handicap, the marathon that is all year. These big stayers win these marathon handicaps, and they point towards the crescendo that is the Cesarewitch. Let's get a market update from Pat Cooney.
Yeah, as things stand at the moment, 8th the field, Coltrane, the Melrose Handicap winner, is favourite. There's been 2 gambles throughout the week. The Great White Shark, trained by, of course, Willie Mullins, Jason Watson aboard. They've teamed up before to win over here. That's been a mover. Again, typical Willie Mullins profile, hard to assess, been mixing up, done the different codes. And Leon Cavallo was the other main mover, and that's now 8-1 as well. And, you know, when you're trying to crack the winner of the Cesarewitch, you look at, you know, well, what kind of form line do I need? Well, Leon Cavallo, he won a Novice Chase 2 races ago at Stratford. So what connections are thinking, you know, well, let's go and win the Cesarewitch immediately after he won a Novice Chase at Stratford? I don't know. It is just that sort of a race. Coltrane has headed the market since the Melrose. He did go up 11 for that, but I think a few people turned around afterwards and thought, oh, maybe that could be a lively outsider for the St. Ledger even. But the connections have kept him for this race. Now, the flip side is, he's drawn 34. Is that a good draw? I don't know. And he's also a 3-year-old, and 3-year-olds got a pretty grim record in this. I think only Darley's son has won this century. I'm not sure how many 3-year-olds actually go for it, that being said, but he's favourite on potential, and is he the best horse in the race from a handicapping point of view? Well, maybe. But again, significant moves for Great White Shark, Leon Cavallo. For Mercedes, I thought Not So Sleepy had a solid chance. That's drawn the other side in 4, was 4th last year, but back in business last year. A wide open race, and 8th the field at the moment. And I probably need 4 or 5 cracks at this one, I should think.
That's interesting. Let's see what the panel think then. Paul Kealy, come to you. You are a big Coltrane fan.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan. I sort of, you know, for a handicapper, I thought he blew that Melrose apart. And if you watch the race afterwards, I mean, you know, Oisin Murphy couldn't pull him up. Like, you know, he was just powering away. And yeah, I was a little worried that he can race a little bit keenly, and he's drawn right on the outside in 34. I'm not sure that's going to help him. But I think he is a potential cup horse.
Yeah, well, he definitely is. Let's talk about the draw quickly, because I think it's only Aim to Prosper that's the dual winner, the only dual winner of the race, who has defied a low draw in the last couple of years. So high is where you need to be.
Yeah,
Remember
well, people used to say it was low, and then they say it was high.
It's weird, isn't it, in this race? And
it's one of those. There's only one bend, but obviously there's a hell of a long way from 1 to 34.
Yeah.
You know,
high draws
tends
to be a
bit of a luck of the
advantage.
draw. You can get a lot of trouble in running. Talking of which, Great White Shark. I mean, he unseated his rider on the way to the start last year, got in all sorts of trouble, finished 10th. I don't know how much closer he would have finished, but it would have been a fair bit closer. So, you know, he's obviously interested. He's obviously been prepared for it again. He's at £3 lower. So you can see why the money's come for him. In fact, he only went off 7-1 last year, I think. So
Mullins going for a hat-trick in the race.
Yeah, exactly. Mullins going for a hat-trick. You can see that. But, you know, like all these big handicaps, sometimes you get short price winners, sometimes you get big outsiders, your Majestic Dawns that won the Cambridgeshire the other day. I've backed one each way an Irish horse called Whirling Dervish for Gavin Cromwell. You know, people in England might not, you know so much about him, but he's, you know, one of the best trainers in Ireland without a shadow of a doubt. You know, he's obviously won champion hurdle, and you know, he's got a really good strike rate in Britain as well. So the fact that he's bringing this horse over, now he actually beat a horse called Twilight Payment about a year and a half ago on the flat. He was rated 110, and he's in here off 94. He lost his form, went over hurdles, and he can't jump. And I won't say he makes mistakes. He just spends loads of time in the air.
If Cromwell can't get him to jump, then no one can.
You know, he just spends loads of time in the air, loses ground, and then makes up the ground on the bridle again. And then by the time he's got to the end of the race, he's got too much ground to make up. But he stayed on really strongly last time. I think he'll love going back on the flat. I think he's got untapped potential at a real stamina test. And I think it's a 33-1 shot. He's worth a couple of quid each way.
2 shots from Paul Kealy then. Let's go to Shane Foley. You've got a ride in this. Interesting. You've got a Lynchwood Gold, haven't you? Ex-Mark Johnson horse. He's a course winner. I remember that day when he won as a 2-year-old. He got on the stands rail on the PJ Model and kept going. He's also been over hurdles last time, but it's his penultimate run, Shane, which might give you a bit of hope.
Yeah, look, this was always the plan, and he had a little run over hurdles just to sweeten him up. And Newmark was always the plan, but really slow ground, probably not ideal going this trip. But I think he will stay. He's a grand horse, he relaxes well, and we have a good draw. I think Oisin's could potentially be a group horse if he does get him to relax and get a pie. He looks the one, but you never know on these massive handicaps. Paul's horse. I won on Whirling Dervish that day. He beat Twilight Payment. He's a grand horse, and he could be a sneaky one, all right. But no, it's massive competitive handicap like it always is, and to whoever gets to run around and the nice smooth passage will pay dividend in the finish.
Interesting. Yes, of course, Princess Zoe mentioned again for you, Shane. It was just a couple of lengths off that last time on the flat, wasn't it? I like Andrew Balding's second string, Diocletian in here, third in the Old Borough Cup, staying on once a trip these days. I was hoping for slightly better ground, but actually I looked at his soft ground record. It's 1-2-3 or 3-2-1, something like that. I think he will run well under William Carver. And I like Roginski as well, who is a bit of a cliff horse for you. But you go back to that Old Borough Cup. They held him up a bit longer, which they were always going to do after York. They just held him up too much. And you watch he finished on the bridle.
They all concertinaed, he just couldn't get a run, could he? Yeah, I mean, he's one of those horses. He's really tough. He stays forever. He's consistent. He puts it all in. He's got a shot. It will top my flat season if he wins, basically, because I won't have backed him.
I think this is going to be his day.
But yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, he could do. But I mean, I backed him every time he's been second, basically.
Oh, listen, the Cesarewitch, it's an absolute barnstormer. Right then, we film, of course, here on What a Shout every Friday morning, but we wanted to have a look at Limerick, 4 o'clock on Sunday. It's the JT McNamara, remembering the great late JT McNamara Munster National. Where do we go with this? Gigginsdown going to have 100 runners, no doubt, but perhaps the Kerry National might hold the key to it. Moyana beat Dr. Duffy and the West Awake. Is it that form or looking elsewhere?
It could be that form. I mean, it's solid enough form, isn't it? But there's one horse there that's just lurking, and I think could be lobbed in, and it's called Walk Away of Henry de Bromheads. Look at his career, very, very lightly raced horse. Won his maiden hurdle, straight into Grade 1 company, finished 4th to Champ at Aintree.
In the Chris's Dream colours?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, finished 4th to Champ at Aintree, then ran in one other Grade 1 hurdle, didn't show. Ran 3 times over fences last year, second to Forheen in one of them, third to Allaho in another one. Now goes into his first handicap. If Alpha Deso Bow runs, he carries 10 stone 2. They've obviously thought he was a graded horse all his life. He could be running him where he's running, and now he's in there of 10 stone 2.
And you remember what Chris's Dream did, of course, at Navan in that handicap.
Exactly,
He could be a Grade 1 horse.
He could be an absolute plot.
Yeah, okay, absolute plot then in the Munster National on Sunday. Time for the My Racing Double then. Check out myracing.com for expert tips and analysis. They've been knocking some of these doubles out the park, and they go in the Zetland Stakes, the 145 at Newmarket. Kyprios for Aidan O'Brien, Moyglaire runner, won't mind the ground at all. And in the 255, trying to knock it out in the park. In the Dewhurst, they strongly believe in Chindit. Okay, it's the time you've all been waiting for. It is the weekend winners, naps from all of the panellists, and I'm going to sit back because we've got a bit of a tennis match that's happening. Shane, I'll give you the floor here because you've got a cheeky little ride, one that stands out in a listed sprint. It's Millisle.
Yeah, Millisle, she disappointed us a bit the last day, but she had her reasons for that, and she's come back. She has Newmarket form. She's in good shape, and I'm happy with her. And we're drawn 15, which won't be a problem to her. And don't think it's the strongest race in the world leader. So obviously, Spencer's filly would be the one to give me most, but no, I think my one's in good shape, and hopefully she can take a bit of eating.
Go back this time last year, of course. If you'd have told her that she was running in this race, you'd think you'd have an absolutely cracking chance, wouldn't you? I think she's got a cracking chance. However,
she has got a cracking chance. You can't deny it. Actually, she's the highest rated horse in the race. She is under a £5 penalty though, so it does make it a little bit closer. Well, I was all over Maiden India last week for Ascot soft ground. She's just coming to herself again. She ran an absolute blinder in the Flying 5 at the Coa, beat a length and a half behind Glass Slippers or whatever. He just got nutted in the Prix de l'Abbé.
It was a massive run.
She was fourth in this race 2 years ago.
Where's this come from?
When she was only rated 92, she just got better steadily, and she's come back to form. She might well be an autumn filly, but I think she'll go very, very close.
You're going head to head with our guests.
Yeah, afraid so.
We want them to come back on the show, Kills. I'm going to go for Bielsa in the 310 at York in the Sprint Trophy. All in Bielsa. Pat Cooney, give us a winner.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for the lucky last at Newmarket, Highest Ground. And a horse that I actually completely forgotten all about, really. I was at Haydock when he won first time out at 3. I thought he was hugely impressive. I thought, maybe this could just be the best 10 furlong colt around. He then got beat narrowly in the Dante. of course, and he's not run since. So he's 93 days off. Where's he been? I don't know, but good to have him back. Ryan Moore aboard. He's the highest rated horse in the race. And I was so impressed with him. And look, he just got beaten at Dante. So we know he's a high class horse. He might just be even better on Saturday. So I'm going to wait for the lucky last at headquarters.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing him coming back. There are your weekend naps. Right then. That's another week here done on What a Shout. Myself, Dave Orton, signing off. What a weekend we have in prospect for you. Loads of sport out there. It's time now to thank our guest, Shane Foley. We'll let you go and stretch your legs, Shane.
Yeah, I see a few trainers here looking at me. He's been sitting in the car for the last hour. I said that better go do something.
Let's hope the What a Shout experience impels you to tell them to come on the show. Listen, Shane, what time will you be rocking up to Newmarket tomorrow?
My flight's at 8:15 tomorrow, so we'll be landing there. We've private car. We're not allowed to travel with anybody, so everything, obviously, with this COVID restrictions, everything is better safe than sorry. But no, I should be there for around 10, and we'll have a good walk at the track and things like that, and get ready. We're busy there tomorrow with 4 rides, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, Shane, really good to have you on. Thanks for coming on, and all the best for the rest of the season ahead. Good luck in that Jockeys Championship. We fancy you. Paul Kealy, thank you.
That's all right. More than welcome. Looking forward to it. An unbelievably good day's racing.
Made in India than that, but you've gone head to head with Shane. For people that want maybe to put something else in a 4-timer, what would the next best be?
Quite interesting. Silver trophy at I was just having a look
Chepstow,
at Chepstow. I spotted Imperial Aura in this race last year, finished third, having set a ridiculously strong place. There's a horse of Christian Williams called Cage, Khage.
Yes.
Just let a look. He's won. He's gone to him from Harry Whittington. He's won 2 of his 3 starts at Chepstow. Got beat, was third in the bumper, won his 2 hurdles very easily. And just looks like he's got Jack Tudor on. Jack Tudor rode limited reserve to win a big race and won the Welsh National for him. Just has a look of a horse that may have been plotted up for this. Doesn't want extremes of ground either, so should be perfect.
Wish you the best with that. Pat Cooney, you can get out your dressing room now. Pat, another weekend at Newmarket awaits.
Yes, and unlike Shane, I won't be walking the course before racing, so looking forward to 2 cracking days.
Good to have you as ever, Pat. Good to have you watching this. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, #WhatAShout if you're on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, get those comments in below. We love the feedback. We read them all over the weekend. Don't forget, of course, to gamble responsibly. That's what it's all about. So many races ahead, so much more of the flat season still to go. And if you're on the jumpers, go steady as well. We're not sure about the form yet. Don't forget, of course, to download the free Racing Post app. You can do that on the App Store or the free Google Play Store itself. Myself, Dave Orton, saying, enjoy the sport.